The great Prince Charming, who boasts his manners in front of the people, has been exposed by one of his former maids, and now the whole world knows him as a rotten, privileged son of a crown. Watch this video till the end to know what and why Prince Andrew's former maid revealed his true nature. Now, it all makes sense. He did not become a terrible being. He was always an evil person. Charlotte Briggs was a person who had a dream of serving the royal family, and she used to think that by giving a person love, they would always turn out good. But this time, she was wrong. What Charlotte didn't realize was that sometimes circumstances are so toxic that no matter how lovingly you nurture a snake egg, it will only spit out a snake. That's what happened in Prince Andrew's case. She had been only 21 when she entered Prince Andrew's world, a world that promised the glamour of palace halls and the prestige of royal service, but instead left her describing her job as the one nobody wanted. The reason was simple. Behind the polished walls of Buckingham Palace lived a man who was not the charming Duke of York the public once imagined, but a figure his own staff openly called arrogant, rude, and unhinged. In one of her interviews with the Daily Mail, she wasted no time. She told everything she thought about Andrew. "I don't give a toss what Prince Andrew feels. He is a horrible, nasty man." It was not the language of someone looking to soften her words. It was the most raw testimony of someone who had endured years of demeaning treatment. And as her stories spread, the world finally got an unfiltered glimpse into how Andrew really behaved when the cameras weren't around. Her earliest memories of the Duke were of him as lazy, entitled, and easily enraged. In her account, Andrew often barked orders for tasks he could have done himself. Curtains became one of his obsessions. Heavy, floor-to-ceiling drapes that could easily be drawn by his own hand were instead the responsibility of Briggs. Once, she left the faintest gap between them. The mistake, if it could even be called one, unleashed a tantrum. Andrew stormed from his office, shouting down the corridor, his voice echoing with profanity. "Can't you bloody do anything right?" he screamed as he reduced the young maid to tears. It was a glimpse into the power system that the staff endured daily. In Andrew's household, mistakes weren't tolerated, no matter how trivial. Every act carried the weight of punishment. Briggs recalled moving through rooms with the constant fear of being noticed. "I did everything I could to avoid him," she admitted. His presence was unpredictable. His temper was worse. But it wasn't only his temper that unnerved her. It was his strange demands, ones so obsessive and humiliating they bordered on the absurd. The most infamous revolved around his collection of stuffed animals. To outsiders, it seemed like a cute little quirk, a grown man clinging to childhood. To those tasked with maintaining it, it was a nightmare. The Duke of York kept 72 teddy bears, alongside a stuffed hippo and black panther, and insisted they were arranged with military precision. No one touched them without guidance. Laminated instruction sheets detailed the placement of each toy, down to which should stand at the back, which belonged at the front, and where his two favorite bears should sit, always flanking his bed like sentinels. Briggs described spending an entire day being trained on this ritual alone. A misstep could trigger one of Andrew's infamous tantrums. His bedroom itself resembled a shrine to his own fragility. The royal crest, embroidered pillows, had to be perfectly centered after the mattress was turned. His pajamas were to be laid out with exact symmetry. The stuffed animals, after being displayed, were to be removed before he went to sleep, then returned at dawn. Staff, Briggs included, often wondered what sort of man demanded this treatment and what it meant about him. The press wasn't slow on this. It later capitalized on these stories, painting a portrait of a grown prince trapped in arrested development, dependent on young maids to soothe his temper and protect the sanctity of his teddy bears. For Briggs, however, it was no laughing matter. It was like walking on eggshells every day, she said. The image of a royal who cried like a little sissy over curtains and bears clashed violently with the charm he attempted in public. Even worse were his interactions with other servants. Briggs described him as someone who treated palace staff as trash, with no gratitude or courtesy. Compared to Charles, Edward, and even Prince Philip, who she remembered as respectful and gentlemanly, Andrew was in a class of cruelty all his own. It's not like she was pulling these stories out of her hair. Other former staff revealed similar stuff. One ex-maid recalled being forced to rush across the room to close curtains that Andrew himself was standing directly next to, just to remind her of her place. Another described his coldness and condescension in the simplest exchanges. And yet what made these revelations sting even more was how unnecessary they were. Andrew wasn't burdened by the responsibilities of his siblings. He wasn't a future king. His role was ceremonial at best, indulgent at worst. But still, he demanded worship from those beneath him. The truth Charlotte Briggs revealed was not just about a man with a temper or childish quirks. It was about a pattern, a man who relished humiliating others, who saw service not as assistance but as submission, who created an environment so toxic that even working in the palace became unbearable. And this was only the beginning. Actually, no, this was not the beginning. There was something about Andrew that even Charlotte knew, and it all started at a very young age. From the very beginning, Andrew's character stood apart from his siblings, and not in a flattering way. Where Charles was quiet and bookish, where Anne was stubborn but capable, Andrew seemed to embody something far less innocent. Even as a toddler, palace staff and royal watchers noted a habit of cruelty that ran through his play. He didn't just crave attention, he demanded it, and he often found it through taunting and tormenting those who couldn't fight back. One of his earliest amusements was baiting the Queen's stone-faced guards. At an age when most children might shrink from their intimidating presence, Andrew strutted past them, mocking their rigid posture, pulling faces to break their composure. When they didn't react, he grew angrier, escalating his antics to force them into acknowledging him. This wasn't harmless mischief. It was a boy who believed no rules applied to him, not even the silent discipline of the men protecting his family. But the real cruelty was shown when he was not against people. Animals, too, bore the brunt of his spoiled temper. Accounts from the time describe him kicking at the family dogs, laughing when they yelped, and striking at horses' legs with sticks for his own amusement. The behavior so horrified the royal grooms that one day they took matters into their own hands.